Whoa, 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 bop.
What's up YouTube? Chris Bandy here. In this series, I'm going to show you how to understand jazz harmony. This tutorial focuses on harmonic features, analysis, and labeling. It does not focus on progressions or performance techniques, although I might make tutorials for those concepts later on. In addition, I teach jazz piano, theory, and composition lessons in person and online, so email me if you are interested. If you have any questions about this video, please check the description before commenting. Thanks to the Coldest Water Bottle Company for sponsoring this series. This 21-ounce sports bottle is solid and sturdy, keeps your drinks cold, floats on water so you don't lose it, has a rubber grip and a handle, is odor resistant, and fits in basically all cup holders. It has been perfect for me every time I go out of the house, and they have 12 different bottle types and a bunch of other products. The brand has over 8,000 5-star reviews, and they offer full refunds if you aren't satisfied. Pick up a Coldest Water bottle today by clicking the link in the description, and use the promo code BANDY to get 10% off your entire order. Alright, let's get into the series. A split tone is when you have both the major and minor versions of a tone. The tones you can split are the 3, 7, 9, and 13, since each of these tones can be a major or minor interval above the root. You cannot split the 5 or 11, since each of these tones can never be a major or minor interval above the root. Rather, the 5 or 11 is normally a perfect interval above the root. You can label a split tone by writing the tone number followed by an exclamation point. For example, C split 3 is a C triad with both the major 3 and minor 3. C7 split 3 is a C7 chord with both the major 3 and minor 3. C major 7 split 3 is a C major 7 chord with both the major 3 and minor 3. C split 7 is a C7 chord with both the major 7 and minor 7. C minor split 7 is a C minor 7 chord with both the major 7 and minor 7. C7 split 9 is a C7 chord with both the natural 9 and flat 9. C major 7 split 9 is a C major 7 chord with both the natural 9 and flat 9. C split 7 split 3 is a C7 chord with a major 3, major 7, and minor 7. Split tones are basically non-existent in jazz writing, so for jazz, I would suggest labeling them as altered tones. For example, a C7 split 3 chord has the exact same tones as a C7 sharp 9 chord. The difference is that, in a C7 split 3 chord, both the major 3 and minor 3 are parts of the triadic structure, whereas in a C7 sharp 9 chord, the major 3 is part of the triadic structure, and the sharp 9 is an altered extension. But whereas a jazz player might ridicule you for putting exclamation points in his chord symbols, he will very easily read a traditional chord symbol, such as C7 sharp 9. If you want to be super clear about uncommon chords like this, just list out all the tones that you want to include in the chord. For example, if you want to label a C7 split 9 chord without using the exclamation point, you can simply label it as C7 natural 9 flat 9. Sometimes it's difficult to decide whether or not the alternate bass is part of the chord. For example, take the following chord, F, C, E, G. We could analyze this as an F major 9 no 3 or an F major 7 sus 2. But we could also say that it's really a C major triad with an F in the bass, so we could also analyze it as C major over F. How should we decide? Well, if you're merely describing a chord that is already there, you should look at the context. For example, if the previous chord was F major 7, then it might make more sense to label this chord as F major 7 sus 2, since the only change is that the 3 is moving down to the 2. But if the previous chord was C major over G, then it makes more sense to label this chord as C major over F, since the only change is that the alternate bass is moving from G to F. Now, if you're prescribing for someone what they should play, you should ask them what they would prefer to see. But F major 7 sus 2 and C major over F are both fairly clear. In a contemporary worship setting, C major over F is very common. A polychord is a chord that is formed by stacking multiple chords on top of each other. Each chord must be entirely registrally separate from all the other chords. The chords cannot be interlocked like this. For example, take the following chord. This chord could be analyzed as C major 7 sharp 11 sharp 9, but it is also just a B major triad over a C major triad. And the B major triad has an alternate bass of F sharp. So this chord could be analyzed as a polychord. The way to label a polychord is to write the different chord symbols on top of each other, separated by horizontal lines. Make sure to arrange the labels in the same way that the actual chords are arranged. For example, since here B major is above C major, we need to put the B major label above the C major label. Returning to our C11 chord from earlier, the third way to analyze this is to call it B flat major over C major. When you are speaking about polychords, make sure to say the quality of both chords so that people don't think you're talking about alternate bass. This chord here is not B flat over C. It's also not B flat major over C. The correct name is B flat major over C major. In addition, although you should indicate alternate bass for the bottom chord, you don't have to indicate alternate bass for the other chords. That is up to you how specific you want to be. The reason to prefer polychordal analysis over standard analysis is that polychordal analysis often produces simpler chord names and also tells you more about the voicing. For example, the chord name C major 7 sharp 11 sharp 9 might be difficult to interpret on the spot, and it doesn't tell you very much about the voicing. But the chord name B major over C major tells you that the B, D sharp, and F sharp will all be above the C, E, and G, since the individual chords within a polychord are not allowed to interlock. If the D sharp were down here, it would be below the E, which means the B major triad would be interlocked with the C major triad, and this would not be a polychord. So is there a name for when we have multiple chords that do interlock? Yes, I call these interlocking chords. For example, take the following chord. You could analyze this traditionally in several different ways, but they are all kind of complicated. Instead, notice that this chord is just a D flat major triad and a C major triad interlocked together. So you could call this chord D flat major interlocked with C major. And of course, you can also indicate the alternate bass. If you do not indicate the alternate bass, then the bass is just assumed to be the root of the first chord in the chord symbol. Interlocking chords can also share a tone. For example, take the following chord, B flat, F sharp, A, C sharp, D, E. This could be analyzed as B flat augmented major 7, sharp 11, sharp 9. But again, this is hard to interpret. But you could also view it as B flat augmented major 7 interlocked with an A major triad, such that these two chords are sharing the tone A. So you could label this chord as B flat augmented major 7 interlocked with A major. It is also a B flat major 7 chord with an omitted 5 interlocked with an F sharp minor 7 chord, again such that they share the A. So you could also label this as B flat major 7 no 5 interlocked with F sharp minor 7.